Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CCG Global Dialogue Series events. We are truly honored to have His Excellency Margus Tsahkna, Minister of the Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Estonia, with us today to discuss the China-Estonia economic and trade cooperation and the future development of China and EU relations. To begin our event, it's my great pleasure to invite Dr. Henry Wang Huiyao, the founder and president of CCG, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Henry, please, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna, the Foreign Minister of Estonia, but also we have many ambassadors here. We have ambassador from, of course, Estonia, Ambassador Hakan of Estonia, but of course we have ambassador from Armenia, ambassador from Bulgaria, ambassador from Croatia, ambassador from Latvia, ambassador from, of course, Greece, and ambassador from Mexico, ambassador from North Macedonia. So many great friends we have. But more than that, we also have a diplomatic representative from Cambodia, Czech Republic, EU delegation, Hungary, Indonesia, Malta, Morocco, Netherlands, Pakistan, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Turkey, and Ukraine. So it's really impressive that we are having such a very high-powered audience here. So, Excellencies, colleagues, friends, good morning, and welcome to the Center of China and Globalization. Of course, today we also have a representative from business, think tank, and of course media. All this a great gathering here. We are very much honored to host today's keynote and dialogue with Minister Margus Tsahkna. In the past, actually, 2 years, 1 or 2 years, CCG has the privilege of hosting, visiting European leaders here, right here at the Center for China and Globalization. So we become actually a welcome point, a think tank in China, including the Foreign Minister of Croatia, Portugal, Slovenia, and Turkey, just to name a few, just in the last year also. So your visit today, Minister Tsahkna, continues that tradition, and we're very grateful for your spending, just arrived today in Beijing, spend your precious time with us today with our great audience that we gather here this morning. So since our founding, the Center for China and Globalization in 2008, CCG has been committed to building open, professional platforms for dialogues among the policymakers, scholars, business leaders, and young people. We are among China's most active non-government platform for international exchanges with many friends in Europe, and of course, many other countries too. Each year we host a side event at Munich Security Conference. Also we collaborate closely with Paris Peace Forum. I just actually got back from Paris Peace Forum and TRT Forum in Istanbul. I understand the minister was in Turkey just also recently. So it's really a very good conference that many of them we went to. And I remember I also went to the conference in Estonia 2 years ago. So we are the only Chinese think tank that has been also invited to the Bled Strategic Forum for 3 consecutive years, which is also a well-known forum in Europe as well. CCG has actually de facto a Chinese leading working think tank with European Policy Center, EPC, based in Brussels, that we actually conduct a 5-year EU-China think tank exchange program, European Union project, basically, funded by European Union, and also China and European think tank exchanges has been really one of the key areas that we've been carrying out in the last 5 years. China CCG also runs a regular program of visits across Europe every year. So welcome all the our representatives from different circles and embassies and diplomatic corps, and of course our think tank community. So within the broader European engagement, Estonia holds a special place for us. I particularly remember in May 2023, I attended the 2023 Nerna Meri conference in Tallinn, the only Chinese think tank actually represented at this meeting. During the visit, I had the pleasure of visiting Estonia, different government agencies, including meeting the parliamentary president and other leaders, which is a great exchange. Also, in June this year, we were pleased to welcome Ms. Kristi Karlström from Estonian Minister of Foreign Affairs here at the CCG, and we appreciate Ambassador Hansen and his team frequently join our dialogues in Beijing, because as we do that. We had the Croatia ambassador here. Recently, we also welcomed the Croatia foreign minister here in this exactly venue. So on our visit to Estonia, we were not only touched by the grand sights, very beautiful country, but also how smooth everyday life works, particularly your digital services, your e-residency, and all those fast digital changing mechanism that coupled with your country development. So through those contact visits, we felt closer to a country of creativity, resilience, and practical innovation. So with the first hand of understanding, let me say a word about the wider China-Estonia relationship. Our ties are tangible and also still very strong. Estonian food and agricultural products, including beer and dairy products, are becoming more and more popular in the Chinese market. The Chinese electric vehicles in the Estonia market also provide Estonia consumers with new choices to fight climate change. I believe that there is a great potential for development of China-Estonia economic and trade cooperation. So this is really the key area that we see a lot of growth. Connectivity between our peoples is also improving. Estonia was among the early EU members to be included in China visa-free entry program, which has made exchanges easier and more frequent. And actually, yesterday, China announced they added Sweden to the e-visa program, also opened the tourist group to Canada, the two good news we have yesterday. So with differences in perception remain perhaps sometime, we believe a direct contact, fact-based dialogue, and concrete cooperation are the best ways to enhance understanding between our two countries, and actually between China and the EU as well. So as more Estonian friends and other Europeans visiting China under the new policy, our mutual trust and friendship will continue to grow. So that is our belief. Looking ahead, there is a great potential for cooperation in personal, people-centered areas: education, innovation, digital governance, e-visas, e-residency, and all those free visa coming to China, and culture exchanges. Estonia enjoys a favorable geographic location, is noted for its ecology, green agriculture, and digital economy. And it is an active participant in the international affairs. So there's an enormous rooms for collaboration. So it goes without saying that China and Estonia have different histories and cultures, operate in different environments, and facing different challenges. Yet none of this prevents the two countries from strengthening mutually beneficial cooperation to better serve well-being of our two peoples. So Minister Tsahkna, and thank you again for joining us. We look forward to hear your insights on the opportunities ahead, as well as the challenges and potential solutions. In any case, I believe in the value of a constructive dialogue that advances peace, stability, and mutual understanding between China and Estonia. I also wish you a pleasant stay in Beijing and productive meetings with senior Chinese officials. I'm also pleased to report we have an official also accompany you this morning from Minister of Foreign Affairs to accompany your visit. You just started, so this is your first stop, but it will be a good start. And so we warmly welcome more friends from Estonia to visit China, experience the achievement of the reform and opening up, and also, I'm sure, the 15th five-year plan in the next 5 years will provide more opportunities, and to see how the Chinese modernization is transforming the Asian civilization. So now, before I think we have the minister to give his awaited keynote speech, I would really like a great friend of CCG, Ambassador Hannes Hansen, to introduce Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna. Please, Ambassador. He's very experienced in China, studied in China, and knows China very well. So, Ambassador, please. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dear Henry and CCG team, thank you very much for offering us this wonderful platform for this public engagement, which kicks off the ministers' two-day, very packed program visit to Beijing. And I really commend CCG team for the work they're doing in engaging international community here, including all the embassies and ambassadors. As the ambassador of Estonia, I'm very happy that every year since I arrived here in 2022, we managed to upgrade the level of visits to Beijing. In 2023, we had our Deputy State Secretary visiting, had all the relevant contacts and meetings and interactions here. Last year we had Secretary of State visiting, his number 2 in our foreign policy system as a head of the institution of foreign ministry. And now I'm super pleased that I can call an old friend and colleague of mine, Minister Tsahkna, has found time in his very busy international schedule to visit China. So who knows what comes next year, but we can talk about this later. China is an incredibly relevant country in international relations, cannot underestimate in any area, be it political, be it security, be it economy. So we have a lot of challenges together, as we all know. And Estonians are very Nordic people, so please don't surprise if you hear some very strong, straightforward opinions and statements, but this is what we have to do. We need to explain our side of the story, try to form common ground based on what we all believe in, what we find important in this world. Of course, we all know the elephant in the room in Europe, that's Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine. And our support for that country. This is a very important topic, but there are many other important topics. And Estonia, as being part of NATO, part of European Union, of course, we work very actively within these organizations to create peace, stability, wealth in our neighborhood and globally. I don't want to take any more of your time. We have a minister here. He's prepared his notes. So thank you very much for coming, and I do hope you find this this presentation and this meeting worth your while. Some of you we will see also later during different engagements during the visit. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you again, CCG.
Thank you, President Dr. Wang. Thank you, Hannes, Ambassador of Estonia. You know, we always send the best people to our friendly countries and to best friends. And Ambassador Hanso knows personally China very well, because I think that he's the only person in this room, at least, who has been bicycling twice across the China and also been studying here. So, and I can assure that we are very happy about your presence here. But I'm really happy about this this honor and also this welcoming speech, Dr. Wang, what you said about Estonia and our relations. And the truth is that the last foreign minister visit happened to be in Beijing 10 years ago, when we opened our embassy building here. And now I'm here, and I'm really happy. I arrived today in the morning, and it's this visit will be very packed, really. But the program is really high level, and this is my first meeting, and I use this opportunity to share with you the perspectives from Estonian point of view, because amongst good partners we must be honest, and for us and for Europe as well, China is a strategic partner, and for that we need to talk about things as they are. But about Estonia, as you know, we are the big country. We have 1.3 million people living there, but Estonians are speaking Estonian language. Most of the world, they don't know about it. But the language for me and more broadly is not actually a communication tool. It's a logical system. So we have been living there in a very difficult geographical location close to 10,000 years, and we have plans to continue like this for another 10,000 years. And the reason is that somehow we are surviving there. There's no scientific reason for that, because we have been through the history under the different conquests and regimes, but now we are enjoying the independence. But it has not been very easy for us during the last 100 years, and we gained our independence first time in 1918, when we went into the independence war, and actually we were victorious against the Soviet Russia, small nation. Can you imagine? But we did it. And we lost our independence in 1940 to Soviet Russia again. But the good thing, and all Estonians are very grateful for China, that China was one of these countries who didn't recognize the occupation of Estonia by the Soviet Union. And it meant us a lot, because during this occupation we actually lost every fifth of Estonian. By killings, by deportations, by rapings, by refugees and so on. And why I'm telling you that? It's not a history speech here, but it is defining a lot how we see the world. And it is the cornerstone of our foreign policy as well. For now, that all political parties in Estonia agreed in 1991 when we regain our independence again. And there are two principles. The first is that this time, if the aggressor is coming, or aggression, we fight back. We didn't do it in 1939, 1940, but this time we will do it, whatever it costs. And it defines our defense policy, foreign policy. And the second principle is that we will never be alone again. We were alone in 1940. And we wanted to have a good relations with Moscow, with Berlin, with London, with Paris, with Washington, everybody. But finally, if two evils, they made a deal about Europe, then we were alone. Even we declared that we are neutral country. Neutrality at this time was just a green light for aggression. Not only for Estonia, but also the Baltic states, Poland, many other countries. And of course, as a consequence of the Second World War, finally we saw what happened. Millions of people dead. But in Yalta in 1945, there was a deal. We were out from this deal. We were happy about the deal, but not as a nation, because we were still occupied for other 50 years. Why I'm talking about this? The reason is that United Nations Charter was agreed as well in 1945, and China is playing the great role for guaranteeing the United Nations Charter. The first president of Estonia, after the regaining independence, Lennart Meri, has said this kind of sentence of the idea that for small nations international law is the nuclear weapon. And that's why Estonia is following very carefully the international law, United Nations Charter, the principles of territorial integrity, and also sovereignty and freedom. So this is what is the main core of our foreign and security policy. And of course, trade is important. But as I mentioned before, we took the way that we will not be any more neutral country in the meaning of declaring that we are alone, neutral, a gray zone in the neighboring of Russia, because Russia, unfortunately, we can say, based on our own history, has always been aggressive towards our region. And we are more than 20 years full member of NATO, full member of European Union. We are very active in United Nations and many other international organizations to facilitate these kind of natural relations to international community, which are sharing the same values, which are actually respecting the United Nations Charter. And this is the cornerstone of our trade policy as well. Dr. Wang mentioned that European Union and Estonia as well, we are a very important partner. And we are playing actually the great role in European Union, because European Union amongst the 27 countries is based on equality, the meaning of the right of vote and other principles. Estonia is now one of the most digitalized countries in the world, I can say that. We have per capita the most unicorns, the companies which are really changing the world because of the size of the revenues. Estonia is the best environment for the startup companies. We have 12 unicorns from Estonia. It's a lot. But also, Dr. Wang mentioned the e-residency program, and just welcoming all Chinese people as well to look into that, because to be part of the best environment of the businesses, the new businesses, you don't need to become actually physically the residents of Estonia, but you can become the e-resident of Estonia, and all the services and all the environment will be open for you. And this is a way our small nation is making ourselves and itself larger and bigger. Also, 100% of public services are online, and this is something I think that we are the only country in the world. We have done all these developments together with the private sector companies, and these companies are together with us always globally, ready to have a business and also cooperate together with our government, which is supporting them. But what is the elephant in the room? Because, of course, European Union and China, we are constantly negotiating on the better free trade conditions. I think that European Union is one of the most important trade partners for China as well, and the other way around. But what is the weakness of European Union sometimes is that sometimes European Union is divided amongst not only 27 countries, but there are different countries who has different views and also interests. But European Union mainly is economical union, which guaranteed that there has not been war in Europe after the Second World War. It was the main reason to put these countries together. But the enlargement process is a normal part of European Union as well. So we were happy 21 years ago to be part of this union, but the enlargement process is ongoing, and now we are negotiating the process for the Baltic nations, but also for Ukraine and Moldova, which is very important. But the elephant for Europe is in the room is Russia. It has been like this, but now it's even more actively in the room. Because Russia is waging the war in the middle of Europe, when we were thinking that the war is not possible anymore. And with all these atrocities, what we saw during the occupation of the 50 years, when we lost every fifth of Estonian, exactly the same things are now happening in Ukraine. And I just come back from Ukraine. Last week I was there, and we are very often there because we are witnessing what is happening, but also we are supporting Ukraine, whatever it costs, because we can honestly say that Ukraine is not only fighting for themselves and for their own freedom. Ukraine is standing for the United Nations Charter principles about territorial integrity, standing against aggression. And also, we can say that Ukraine is fighting instead of us. I can just put the figures on the table. I was defense minister 2016-17. I saw the other side of our borders 120,000 troops ready to go within 48 hours. And these troops were meant to us. These troops are now gone, they were sent to Ukraine and they're literally dead. That's why we're saying as well that Ukraine is not only fighting for the freedom of our freedom and principles, but also instead of us. And unfortunately, the war is ongoing. What is common for us all, in China, in Europe, we all want to have a peace. I just come back from Ukraine and I met President Zelensky, and they also want a peace, but just and long-lasting peace. The problem is that Putin has been stealing the meaning of peace, the word. And if we are talking about peace, then we mean that the peace is just, the peace is long-lasting, the peace is actually understanding as well the principles of the territorial integrity, as well the principles of the sovereignty. But Putin is using the word peace and gaining more war. And President Trump, I think, that gave Putin as well the opportunities to start at least the ceasefire and the peace negotiations. But what we see recently during the last couple of months is war and terror against the civil people. Why is like this? Because Russia is a rich country, well-educated people, all the resources. I think that the plan is public already since 2007, when President Putin actually published his plan during the Munich Security Council. And he mentioned, and constantly and keeping mentioning, the elimination of the root causes. And the root causes for him is the collapse of the Soviet Union. And that's the reason why in Europe we see now more and more, not only in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, the neighboring countries, but also as a European Union, that Russia unfortunately continues the aggression in Europe. And every step what we do about the economy, about international relations, about the cooperation with other countries, it is the core problem in front of us. I can say as well that maybe old part of Europe has been too lazy about investing in defense and security policies after the Second World War. But now everybody, even the south part of Europe, they understand that we must stop the aggression. Now the elephant in the room between the relations of Europe and China is actually Russia again. And I can say very clearly that China is a decisive enabler for Russia for this aggression, economically, but also on military level, allowing to get the dual-use military equipments, and also supporting Russia economically, because Russian economy is weak and weaker and weaker. That's why my point and my reason here for this visit is to talk and to explain as well our positions, that China is one of the strongest countries in the world and also has more and more leverages about Russia to stop the war. What we do in Europe is as much as we can. One is, of course, we are defending ourselves more and more. Estonia is going to invest next year 5.3% of GDP to defense. It is taking money away from our economy. It is taking money away from our people, from our education. And all European countries are investing more heavily to defense, as we agreed in NATO summit this summer, 5% in the future. But also, it's not about the war against Ukraine. We are under constant hybrid attacks during the last 3.5 years in Europe. And also not only hybrid, any kind of attacks which are not reaching the Article 5 level of NATO is already normality in Europe. Just recently in September, just before the United Nations high-level week, Estonia had a brutal violation of the airspace by Russian 3 fighter jets for 12 minutes. Can you imagine that? Estonia is not a very big country, and 12 minutes is a lot of time. And this is not something just happened, because they were fighters, and they saw the reaction as well as NATO planes went up. It was not a direct threat, it was not attack against our sovereignty, but it was brutal violation of our airspace. Just a days before, the drones attacked Poland, and some of them, they were shut down. And unfortunately, as a proof as well, these drones were partly made in China, at least Chinese components were that. So if you're asking us that whether we would like to have better relations with China, of course we all would like to have, but these kind of facts are just shadowing these relations, because this is existential question for us. It is existential question for Europe and for Estonia, as I'm representing here Estonia as a Foreign Minister of Estonia. So we need to talk about these things, very straightforward. What Estonia did, we called Article 4 consultations among NATO members. And I think the one plan for Putin with this violation of the airspace was as well to test if NATO is working well, really. And the second is to divide the Europe and US. But it was actually happened the other way around. NATO was more united than ever before, I saw, because it was the first time this kind of brutal violation of the airspace for NATO as well in our region. And also we called United Nations Security Council meeting. And it just happened when all the world leaders gathered to New York. And this support I saw as a foreign minister behind me, it was something that all Estonians felt that first thing, we are ready to fight back if the aggressor is coming, but the second is that we are never alone again. And my message to China is as well, as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and responsibility is to guarantee the peace in the world. And also the responsibility is not to allow anyone to change the borders using military force, to guarantee the principles of territorial integrity, to guarantee the principles of sovereignty, as China about Estonia has been doing all these years, even we were occupied. And this message is very clear from the small nations as well, because these are the responsibilities that the big and very powerful countries have, mainly if they are the full members of and permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. So, as a conclusion, even we are the small nation, we are sharing a lot of the same principles, as I mentioned several times. And I remember even, I'm not a very old man, but in Estonia and in Europe years ago, people didn't take very seriously these principles. And if somebody said United Nations Charter and these principles, there was something theoretical, because people were really believing in the end of history principles about the year of 2000 or something. But unfortunately, it was not the end of history. All the nations didn't start to live together in a prosperous life and a bright future. We are living in a very difficult world. We have more military conflicts in the world than ever after the Second World War. We're talking about more than 50 different conflicts, maybe even more than 60 for today. And these principles are more practical than ever before. And if we are talking about the trade relations or the economical cooperation, of course, everybody would like to live better life in China, in Europe, everywhere. But these principles are violated. And this violation of principles in Europe by Russia is something which is shadowing our relations as well, unfortunately. I'm not just a messenger. We are living in Europe, and we feel it every day, and we are working hard. We put more sanctions on Russia. We are dealing with accountability questions about the special tribunal. We are supporting Ukrainians, but not only Ukrainians, but these principles, as I mentioned before. And it takes the attention from us. And my call is that let's do it together. Let's stop the war. We know how to do it, and also let's rely on the United Nations Charter principles, and then we can move forward with our bilateral relations as Estonia and European Union. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Minister Tsahkna, for that enlightening perspective. We will now move into the dialogue session. I'm pleased to invite Dr. Henry Wang Huiyao to moderate this discussion with the Minister Tsahkna. Welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you, Eloia. And so, Your Excellency, Margus, and so you just made a very comprehensive speech and highlighted many points. So I'd like to start with some questions regarding the people-to-people exchange and youth connectivity, because that's also CCG runs a dialogue program as well. As you know, with China's new visa entry policy that was just covering many EU member states, and also just announced the continuation of extension of that yesterday. So how can we turn that policy convenience into more significant two-way exchanges? I mean, you also mentioned about digital e-residency, e-visas, and things like that. So could we also consider some other initiative for young people, like joint, the youth innovation camps, startup incubating exchanges, joint degree of internship programs, which I think Estonia and China probably have many supplementary roles to play. So maybe what kind of a small but beautiful cooperation do you think that can bring this most tangible cooperation between our two countries?
Thank you. Not as small and beautiful, but today we say big and beautiful, because some world leaders are using these words a lot about big and beautiful. Yes, but this exchange of person-to-person relations are very important, and I'm just opening from Estonian perspective, because everybody knows about China in Estonia. Of course, it's impossible not to know, and lots of Estonians are coming here as well. But what we are meaning now is actually the youth exchange, and also the young people to come to Estonia and the other way around. And the key word is about education. And one thing I can say in that this is a proof as well on all different indexes in the world. The Estonian educational level is top in the world, and also our universities and technical universities. But also, I think there are many things to learn from China, because mainly about technical education is something we need to collaborate much more. And I cannot see any kind of the burdens here, with barriers here which can stop it. Of course, the visa liberation is something which is very supportive. But also Estonia is very much open about the digital solutions. I mentioned this e-residency program, but this is a real thing. Please go and check it at eresidence.ee. Go and check it. These conditions are very easy to follow and to become an e-resident of Estonia. And it brings you as well closer to Estonian environment, because it's really easy to start businesses in Estonia. It's really easy to run businesses in this environment, and you don't need to come physically finally to Estonia to establish that. So, and mainly the startups, they are connected to young people, be honest. One problem what we have in Estonia is not the lack of ideas. We have lots of great ideas, and as well in China, of course. But we have a lack of capabilities of scale up our businesses and ideas. And this cooperation is definitely the opportunity for our two nations to collaborate. And our duty as governments is to put the conditions on the table that our people can be more connected, and also these ideas can be more scaled up. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Minister Margus. So this is really a great description of what has been envisioned. You just mentioned, in Estonia, the unicorn per capita probably is the highest in the world. Right? That's very impressive. So I'm thinking of, what digital governance and practical cooperation that we can really also envision between Estonia and China? Because Estonia is also recognized as the e-government and digital identity as one of the leading country. And do we also see some opportunities that for China and Estonia to carry out some small-scale, low-sensitivity pilot cooperation, for example, business facilitation to share the best practice and build reputable models of collaboration? Because I know there's a lot of businessmen from over the world, went to Estonia, but then China is a big market, and digital also quite developed. So maybe there's something we can collaborate to think about, right? Particularly how government is doing the e-governance.
Yeah, of course, China is a huge market if you compare, and also our companies are mainly in European markets. But as a foreign service, I can assure you as well that we are working heavily to support our companies and these regions that we are not maybe normally participating. And of course, China is also a huge market, but also very regulated market, to be honest. And this is something that the China part can do more to open the market. We are part of the European Union as well. The trade mainly is covered by the European Commission. So any kind of these agreements, what the European Union, China can do and negotiate about the free trade, about the subsidies and so on, it is opening the market for our companies as well. And the other way around, if we're talking about the technological field and investments to European Union, I think that Estonia is one of the best environments for doing that. And I think that Chinese businesses can find easily the great ideas to scale up and also to bring the investments. But then as well, we come back to this elephant in the room, and also, the negotiations between the European Union and China. There's one huge perspective in Estonia. Actually, Estonia is one of the countries in Europe which has the resources of the rare earth metals in the future. So we have a long-term plans for this as well. The energy change. One thing which is joining us or uniting our goals is actually the climate change. We're working very, very. China and European Union as well, and Estonia is in the middle of the transfer of the energy sector. And this is the era I can see as well, the collaboration.
Great. You talk about energy, that I've been to Estonia, and it's very green and it's very well developed. So China has also achieved a remarkable progress. You can see how beautiful Beijing becomes now. If you haven't been here for 10 years, we got a blue, clear sky today. And so how do you think that, EU, including Estonia, are strong defenders of climate change? I just got back from Paris Peaceful. They celebrated the 10 years anniversary of Paris climate agreement. So I think for that aspect, a green development, green consensus, because some countries said this is fake news, but we as China and also of course Estonia and EU are really thinking this is something we all need to work together. So how do you think about for Estonia and China to further work on the green transition, green development, and of course China is become a leading country in the green products now. So there could be also potential cooperation in that part. And so maybe you can see how this in the multilateral front, we can still sustainable development is still the key value that we have to stick to between China and EU and Estonia probably.
Yes, Estonia has a very precise goals about the climate, and also we have a goal for the 100% of renewable energy 2030. We discuss now in government whether we are able to actually catch this goal or not, but we'll definitely do it. This is something I think that maybe 80% or something the technologies about the green energy is coming actually from China. So China is actually having close to the monopoly amongst European Union, different countries in the energy sector. And this is a question as well about the security now we're talking about. But yes, I think that, we are in Estonia putting together this cocktail or mix of different energy opportunities, starting from solar and wind, but also we are reaching out for nuclear. This is something our government is working for the next decades. But also we are the part of European Union market, and also the negotiations of the green turn, so-called. But we must be competitive as well in the global market, and this is something you mentioned as well, that it's not so easy. But if you're talking about environment, so please come to Estonia and you can really enjoy that. You can drink the water from the spring. You can, today is very beautiful weather, I heard. It's my first time in Beijing, but you have never this kind of bad air. You can breathe in, you can swim, you can do whatever. You can go to the forest. We have lots of forests. So maybe this is as well, not only between governments, but also to remind people that it is possible to have a green environment around you. And in the name of that, we are working hard.
Absolutely. We need to strengthen the people-to-people exchange and experience both the clean air and space that China is gradually having, and also, of course, Estonia has, that we can always work on that. Now, talk about China, Estonia, and China, EU. We know that last week, just last week, China, US had a summit, and they have, truce, basically a ceasefire on the trade escalation now. And I think President Trump said this is out of a 1 to 10, this is 12 point. And President Xi said we should get out of this vicious cycle of retaliating of each other. So what do you think about China, EU? That we're still, EU and China are both one of the largest trading partner, and we talk about Iceland. Also they had an FTA with China, which is great, and also Sweden. I was having a dinner with the Swiss Assistant Secretary of State just about a week or so ago. Again, Sweden has a FTA. So do you think that maybe in the future, I know that also Japan and South Korea, and they are starting to talk about FTA between China, South Korea, and Japan. So for that part, maybe EU and China, how can we stabilize that and trade, and also to welcome also more investment? We know that China has been investing in the EU, many countries now, Hungary, Serbs, Spain. We have a good political relation. The former Prime Minister of Spain was visiting China twice in 2 years' time. And next few years, the King of Spain is coming. We're going to see more investment of China goes to Spain. So let's have a good relation between EU and China, and then we can see more investment and business opportunity of both sides. So what do you think of that perspective, and how we can strengthen the cooperation?
Yes, indeed. I think from China perspective, especially if you mentioned as well President Trump's administration trade war, or whatever we call it, about the tariffs and the conditions, and the meeting with two presidents went well, and as well for European Union because of the restrictions for the rare earth metals and so on. Actually, it was postponed. It was a good news, of course. And as I understand, that Germany actually passed the trade amounts between China and Germany from US. So Europe is important for China as well. Not only one by one, because maybe for China as well, it's more interesting to take the European Union countries one by one and to have a special relations for everybody, with everybody. But also, European Union is like the economical unity, yeah. and that's why we need to collaborate. But I'm coming back again that we are discussing every month in Foreign Council as well the EU relations with China on political level, not only trade. And this is why European Union is in a very careful position about China, because Russia aggression again. So China is a very powerful partner, mainly on technologies. I mentioned before here as well about the energy technologies, but also the trade is not balanced between European Union and China. And that's why the free trade agreement is good for everybody. But as well, this trade must be free then. And that's why it's harder to reach on that agreement from European Union side. So, of course, the free trade globally would be a great thing, but it is not free trade, unfortunately. And that's why these negotiations are really, really complicated. But maybe US is pushing us to this agreement. Let's see.
That's right. US is pushing China, India, China, Canada, many other countries, China, EU, possible. No, I understand absolutely. For example, China and the US has made a lot of progress on their trade talks, and so I hope that China, EU can do the same, because I found that if any country from European countries, EU, once they had a good relation, then there will be a lot of investment. I also recently in the UK, and the UK didn't raise any tariffs on China, and then so the double-decker bus of London, there's a lot of Chinese BYD was providing that, and you see all the Ubers in London is also from Geely and all those EV cars. So there is, I think, there's huge potential for collaboration if we have the good relations. Now you talk about this Ukraine and Russian war there, and I noticed that recently just in the BRICS Foreign Minister meeting, once concluded, Foreign Minister Wang Yi actually said the BRICS countries are the best promoters and peace makers and things like that. So probably China and countries like India, Brazil, Turkey, and others could also help to make sure this peace efforts is possible happening. I know actually President Xi and President Trump had when they talked in Busan, South Korea last week, they were actually touched about, talked quite extensively on Ukraine issue. So I hope that China and US and EU, we can all work together, for this peacemaking of Europe. So we have to probably find a way. Let's have maybe UN and a summit of some kind. Let's have a peace summit to promote that. Estonia certainly can be part of that as well.
I think that if China wants, China can stop the war very quickly. Just having a phone call to President Putin and saying that you need to stop right now, because Russia is more and more depending on China every day and every week, because Russian economy is weak and weaker every day and every week. And we don't need to gather on different conferences, but we need to push Putin on the position that he really would like to have a peace. Because he had an opportunity many, many times to start real peace negotiations about starting with a ceasefire. Ceasefire is easy for Putin. Phone call to, I don't know, whoever there on the front line, and this ceasefire will start. And the question is that he doesn't have this willingness. That's the main problem. But together, as you said, we can push Putin on this position that he must start the meaningful peace process, and that's I really welcoming your idea that let's push Putin together. We do as much as we can from European side.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that talking about phone calls, I think not that simple. President Trump made many phone calls to Putin. Hasn't really made any progress.
Yeah, but now, be honest, Putin is more concerned and worried and maybe even in panic because Trump put in sanctions on two very important companies, and now the special envoy of Putin was sent to DC and so on. So, sorry to say, but the peace can come only through strength, and we can really work on that together.
I think possible, maybe have some kind of multilateral, trilateral meetings that on this issue involving BRICS countries, China, India, Turkey, and others could probably, as you said, have more multiple players to really help in promoting the peace. But I have a final question before we opened up. You mentioned about of course, UN and all those things. I think President Xi recently proposed the Global Governance Initiative, and he actually stressed that we need to respect UN rule, of course, also sovereignty, and also, of course, all the basic, all the fundamentals of the UN. I mean, you have a big country leader like China to openly says that in a big international occasion at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. So I think that is China sticks to this UN. China just recently, fulfilled all the obligation. Of course, some, has no delayed payment to UN. It's very good news. China has paid up all the dues that the UN is having, and China has just recently donated 500 million to WHO that Trump is putting out. So I think it's great. We have to strengthen UN, and it's absolutely important. I agree with you that UN principle and rules should be really upheld. So on that part, how can we strengthen the UN cooperation is an issue, because we don't want to marginalize UN. So I agree on that part, and UN is really important.
And thank you for mentioning the United Nations, because there are many people in the world who says that maybe United Nations is out of order already. And the reason is not because most of the countries or all the countries are gathered there. I think the General Assembly is working well about declarations, and you can see the map about different votings. And this is very clear that the most of the countries, the very huge, big majority is really sticking into the United Nations Charter and also the principle and multilateralism and everything like this. Because if one country is able to change the borders by using force and military force, and it affects, it's like domino. It's like domino effect. But the main problem is that the Security Council. Security Council is the main problem, and there Estonia does not belong to this Security Council. Unfortunately, we were just not permanent member for 2 years. We did what we could, but the permanent members. This is the main problem. That one of the permanent members is an active aggressor, and this is enabling actually the Security Council in the meaning of using the veto. So we need a reform somehow there, because it may happen. I do hope that it never happens again. What happened with the League of Nations, just the end of the 30s, that finally the deal, whatever we call it, what was made after the First World War, it was not relevant anymore about the balance in the world. And some leaders just violated, and it was exactly as a domino effect, and the cost for everybody was really high. And this is a responsibility as well for China as a permanent member of the Security Council to guarantee that this principle will last. And you can rely on Estonia, yes, definitely.
That's good. That's good. I mean, China actually a strong promoter of UN system, UN value, and UN principles. So great. We have that. So we have probably time for one question. I know there's one CI wants to raise a question, or any other colleagues want? Oh, okay.
Hello, Minister. I'm Sabrina from China International. So, as we all know, China is entering the 15th five-year plan, and the new counterproductive forces has become the key focus during these 5 years. So, what new opportunities do you think the next 5-year plan, next 5-year plan can bring to our bilateral cooperation? Thank you.
As I understand, the question was about the new 5-year plan.
An opportunity for the cooperation between China and Estonia.
It depends on China, I think. Your 5 years plans are, the large-scale plans in the meaning. And my visit here is, of course, as a sign as well that we are very much interested about more cooperation between our two countries. But I'm always coming back to these principles, what we disagree sometimes as well. The question is, for me, not even for Estonia, finally, what is the 5-year plan for China on global level about security policy and international relations with European Union and the global player in the world? Because let's be frank, there are like a struggle between US and China about economical power in the world as well. And these negotiations, as you said as well, with President Trump's, it's about this. And Estonia is not player there in the meaning with our 1.3 million people, but we are part of European Union. So what I do hope is that China and European Union will have this strategic partnership, understanding as well the principles about the United Nations Charter and respecting and understanding as well that aggression in the middle of Europe by Russia is not accepted. I do hope that for 5 years now we have long-lasting and just peace in Europe by Russia, and it enables and gives as well the opportunity further cooperation on the new level. Thank you.
Great. Probably that's all the time we have. And so I really want to thank Minister Margus for excellent dialogue we had. And of course, you mentioned about all those points, and of course, UN and how UN can play more important role. And I think also you talk about Security Council. I think that's very important. China being the largest peace-sending country of Security Council, and India is also a large peace-sending country. So I think we all can work together to really strengthen the UN role in solving those global issues. And also you talk enormously about the potential that between China and Estonia and China and the EU. And even, this year is the 50 years of diplomatic relation with China and the EU. And I really hope that with more EU foreign minister visiting China, we already hosted quite a few, we were looking for a more productive, more profitable, and more fruitful China-EU relation and China and Estonia relation. So let's give a welcome and thankful applause to Minister Margus for his excellent talk today.